You mean there's more than one slightly below mediocre top 10 overrated NES games list? Really? Have we reached that point as a species? Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you all to Stuttering Craig, the man who created a website called Screw Attack in 2006 before leaving it in 2016. Now, I used to love Screw Attack, specifically their top 10s and video game vaults. I know a lot of other people liked Death Battle, but I was never big into it. Anyway, Craig now does live streams, and in fact, uploads clips from those live streams onto his YouTube channel. One of these clips is his list of the top 10 overrated NES games, and given I just covered a top 10 overrated NES games list, and this one has some issues as well, I figured now would be a good time to look at it. These are all the games Craig put on the list. Now, my first question is the same question I asked to the last person who did this. Why is Fester's Quest on here? Like, at first that was rhetorical because it obviously isn't overrated, but is there some big revival for the love of Fester's Quest that I just didn't know about? I mean, Craig tries to justify this by pointing out that IGN put it on their top 100 NES games list.
I'm not just saying this. Look at number 45 on their list. 45 on their list is Fester's Quest. You see it right there. Yes, this game is rated. That game is rated. Rated too high.
But given IGN is known for strange picks on their lists, using that to determine the game is overrated just doesn't make any sense. Especially given other games on that list are the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mickey Mousecapade, and Akari Warriors. Games which are not very well liked among retro gamers. Also, his issues with Fester's Quest are kind of dumb.
As you power up your gun, this gun in particular, look at the wave shots on it. This is a giant critical flaw in this game. And I'll show you why as you go inside. Now, this is a stronger version of the gun, but this is also the second level of gun that you get. So it's actually harder to play the game once you get a better gun, okay? Once you, and what they're doing, what the person doing right now is just farming. That's all they're doing, because you got to farm the game initially to get anything halfway decent. Now look, it literally shoots around the bad guys, which is just insane.
Okay, first off, the gun moving at a wave is only an issue assuming it's at levels 3 and 4. Otherwise, it essentially shoots straight. Albeit for levels 5 and 6, it does circle around slightly, but said circle is so tight that it does, at the end of the day, work the same as if it just shot straight. Craig even notes how tight the circle is when he sees this weapon later on in the stream, by the way.
And here's the next weaponry. You notice it actually kind of stays a little bit in, but
it shoots in a circle in the same way, say, the Quick Boomerang for Mega Man 2 does. And to speak personally, I just replayed the game for a minute after not playing it for years, and I had very little issue lining up my shots. However, even giving you the benefit of the doubt and assuming this just wasn't the case and it was actually harder to hit things progressively as you got a higher leveled gun, that could just be a way of balancing things out. The gun is more powerful, but it's also harder to hit things with it. This was actually a very common balancing tactic for unlimited use weapons on the NES. For example, it's what was done with the Wave Beam in Metroid, a game I assume Craig is familiar with, given one of the power-ups from it is what he named his website after.
Absolutely insane. You can see what they're doing is farming, and it's just kind of like a puzzle game.
How the fuck is Fester's Quest like a puzzle game? Going back to the list, I'm also incredibly confused by his inclusion of Metal Gear, as most consider the NES version to be nothing more than a bad port of the MSX version, something which Craig himself notes, by the way.
And apparently there's considerably superior versions of this game, like on the MSX.
But he somehow just doesn't get the notion that that's the game people are praising, not the NES version. It would be like me putting Pac-Man or Donkey Kong on a list of overrated Atari 2600 games because of how well regarded the arcade version is. Although I'm not entirely sure Craig knows that, just in general, given he talks about how this game got a sequel, which is true, Snake's Revenge, and then launched the Metal Gear Solid franchise.
The fact that it got a sequel was amazing to me. The fact that it spawned one of the greatest franchises in video game history is appealing to me, or is interesting to me.
When, again, that was more the spawn of the MSX version, especially given Kojima was involved with the creation of both the MSX version and Metal Gear Solid, but not Metal Gear on the NES, nor Snake's Revenge, hence why I would consider it accurate to call it a sequel to the NES version specifically. I will let Ghosts and Goblins slide though, if only because although that game is considered to be unfairly difficult, it is also usually lumped in with Capcom's other classics. With that said, there's no way in hell I'm letting this mistake slide.
You get hit once, you're dead. When you think of like...
No, if you get hit once, you lose your armor. Now, if you get hit twice, then you die. Anyway, here are some miscellaneous mistakes Craig made.
And I understand this came out in like 1986. I understand that.
Ice Climbers came out in 1984, actually, and was ported to the NES in 1985.
Twin B is a fun game. Now, I wouldn't say Twin B is like... Is Twin B in any... but you know what I'm saying. I don't even know. I think Twin B's on the NES.
It was not. Although it did get a release on the Famicom, it never got an NES release.
When it comes to top-tier NES franchises, very few games on the Nintendo Entertainment System saw 3 games. I can think of Mario. Mario 1, Mario 2, Mario 3. Off the top of my head, I don't know if any other franchises on the game. Oh, Double Dragon saw 3 games. But this is one of the few games that saw 3 games. Mega Man, obviously. But you had to be a powerhouse franchise. Yeah, Ninja Turtles.
There's also the Castlevania trilogy, the Ninja Gaiden trilogy, the Contra trilogy, if you want to count Contra Force, and since you counted Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, with the second TMNT game just being a port of the arcade game, I assume we can include ports, in which case I'm also going to throw in the 3 Donkey Kong games. Oh, and Wizards and Warriors, that also counts. And Dragon Quest, which had 4 games. Hell, if you want to get really obscure, you can include the 3 NES Jeopardy games, one just called Jeopardy, Jeopardy 25th Anniversary Edition, and Super Jeopardy, which was specifically based off of a tournament Jeopardy held in 1990. And I'm sure there are way more that I cannot think of. Anyway, that's all I have to say, so final thoughts? I thought I'd have more to say about this video. Good night, and good luck.